nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball on! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. My name is Devin. I know it was no King's Day, but we had 11 roll out and get us 3 points, so I was perfectly happy with that result. A nice win. We scored some goals. Relatively comfortable, a little nervy at the end, but a game we should have dominated. We do like beating up on the Eastern Conference when we can, so we'll talk about that in a little bit more. Joining me today, Scott, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It was fun to get a bonus game that was actually a bonus game.
It was nice too. We had like the hey, we're prepping you for terrible summer weather, but then it was like also kind of nice after the sun went down. We got a nice little breeze. It wasn't oppressively hot the entire game, just the beginning. But also with us today, Seth, who knows everything. Seth, how you feeling?
You know, I don't think that was a bonus game by definition, Scott, but we will take it as a bonus game. But it's also crazy that if we look at the standings, even after yesterday's win, we still have fewer points than them, and we are in 7th in the West, and they're in 8th in the East, and they've played one fewer match than us. We are very lucky to be in the Western Conference this year.
Yeah, the table looks, actually pretty nice if you don't look at the games played column.
Even if you look at the games played column, it's like, okay, you have, looking at the teams who are ahead of us right now, LAFC does have 3 matches in hand in us, but they have to go play, Chelsea tomorrow.
Fuck Chelsea. Chelsea shit.
And then the Seattle Sounders did their easiest match of the next 2 weeks against Botafogo tonight at 9 o'clock on DAZN and maybe on TNT. I haven't actually looked at the Club World Cup schedule that much because I watched 0 minutes of the Club World Cup last night. But apparently they gave away 60,000 tickets in Miami. Congrats to them.
And still nobody showed up.
They had to move.
I literally haven't even watched the highlights. I saw that Trezeguet, everyone's favorite Egyptian name, missed the penalty, and it was a 0-0 draw. So that's another $1 million to the MLS front office. So congratulations, Don Garber, on receiving another $1 million.
Hooray! Number go up. That's what the game's all about, right?
Share the money with the players.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to do that, but
they'll share the money with Messi. They're not going to share the money with the players.
Yeah, that's what it is. Also with us today, Brad, how you feeling?
Well, the alarm went off this morning, so here on time, which is good. Feeling nice after a good win last night. Thought that the team played well, and unfortunately couldn't be there. Had to stay home because of some health reasons around the house, but otherwise it's all good. No,
health reasons are good or as good as they can be at the moment.
Unfortunately, half the household caught COVID last week, so we're laying low and trying to make sure that nobody else catches anything. I'm still good, so that's half a win, I guess. But the other half of the house, which I would much rather me have than her have, is still recovering. So
Birdie Joe digging up COVID in that backyard.
Yeah,
I may not have passed a science class in high school, but
yeah, she. Also, we get to celebrate Birdie Joe's first birthday next weekend.
Yay! Happy birthday, Birdie Joe. For those of you who don't understand what Brad was talking about, he slept through like 2/3 of the recording last week and only jumped on right before I was smitten down by the soccer gods who took my microphone away while I was going on an unhinged rant about refereeing. So let's see if we can get something that interesting to happen this week.
It's well known that I am not a morning person, and my alarm just somehow slept through it. I don't know last week. So in our group chat for the broadcast last night, I actually put my alarms in the group chat at 5 p.m. something like that.
Something like that.
I'm setting these now.
All right. Well, you're here. That's good. It's not like we record at 7 a.m., even though we are usually the first show out for the week. So it's 9. It's not like crazy early, but it's not, 8 p.m. either. I guess let's talk about this game. Same lineup. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not surprised they ran that same lineup out. Uzuni's coming back from a plane, a couple international matches, traveling around the world. So you always have that sort of excuse, even if you don't want to say he was benched for on-field reasons. But any surprises from any of y'all on the lineup?
There's no reason to not run it out after you did Colorado, and then we replicate it with another 6-minute goal. So you get a very early vindication on that something is working. Cool. I was about to say, I have no idea what lineup will run out in 2 weeks, but also just hearing the stories from the post-game press conference that Izuni got to see his kid for all of 10 minutes is just like crazy on a trip. Obviously, he had 2 international matches and everything else is there. Since we're not playing next week, apparently a bunch of the guys are flying. A bunch of the team has this week off, so some players are leaving the country and all of that. So we'll see how that all goes. But yeah, I think that was the right decision for Nico.
Not overly surprised at the lineup. There's one thing that does pique my interest. I'm not surprised that Uzuni didn't start. As you mentioned, he literally just got off the plane like 2 days ago or something like that, coming back, and he's flying out supposedly today to go straight back to Europe for a week to go actually spend some time with his kid, which good. And Osman Bukhari is apparently doing the same. And he's going to they're both getting some extra time over there, according to Nico, versus everybody else having to be back by Friday for practice. The one thing that's piqued my interest a little is the fact that Robert Taylor still can't start over Galley on the left wing. And I don't know if that's just unfamiliarity with the system still or not being comfortable with him just yet, but in a forward position, Taylor offers more than John Gallagher. Now, the one thing you can say with Galley starting is it almost saves you a sub or gives you a little more tactical flexibility because he can drop back to that right back position for Dessler. And maybe that's part of the thought process last night because we know Dessler wasn't fully ready for 90 minutes yet. And he said so last week after the match. He's like probably 75 and then 90 after that. But I think eventually we need to get to a space to where if Uzuni is not starting for whatever reason, or he's getting a week off, Taylor has to be the first choice on that left side.
I mean, Taylor's coming off an injury too, so I wonder if we're just giving him, an extra week or so, because then we got those 2 weeks of rest, right? And then,
but you also have to remember, Robert Taylor started 1 match for Inter Miami this season and wasn't being really focused before the trade. I mean, Robert Taylor, I just pulled up the minutes here. Robert Taylor has played more than the last time. I guess I did. No, that was a real match there. Their season opener, he had 2 starts at Inter Miami this season. He went 81 in one and 55 in the other.
Okay.
Well, sure, but
this guy who hasn't been playing that many minutes and just wasn't coming here in great shape, and then was then got hurt and is still recovering his own way. Hasn't been we heard Nico's comments earlier. It's like Danny was able to get back because he was able to get in more full sessions than Robert Taylor was. I do think Robert Taylor is a starter on this team come September, but I just don't think he's quite there right now.
I don't think he's necessarily a starter on this team. I think Uzuni's going to start in that spot long term. But last night, I think in a position where if Uzuni is not starting on the midweek matches or games like last night because he's coming back from international duty, that's where I think we need to get to a point where it's Taylor over Gallagher. But if we're going to continue the shape that we're playing, and Devin and Scott, you both were at the match, but on the broadcast last night, they said that Nico wants to use Taylor like he's using Usman, which is as a runner down the left side. And that's different from what he's been doing for most of the year so far. He's been tucking in more. So if he's going to do that, and I think that Uzuni can do that, he's got the speed, he's got the run rate. It gives us a ton of width and options outside, first of all, with a true target man in the middle now with Vasquez. But you're not going to not put him on the field over Taylor or whatever if everybody's healthy and all things are equal.
Yeah, I do wonder how much of it is also Dessler not being able to go 90 and needing to save Gallagher for that. And this is kind of the double-edged sword of having a utility player like Gallagher, is that you have to really plan how you're going to use him if you're going to try to use him in multiple spots, because that requires just an extra level of planning and thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, we are short on the back end too, so kind of our utility guys there stretched in maybe 3 or 4 positions instead of just 1 or 2.
And also, really, besides center back, I think the team's okay in terms of depth. I think there's improvements that can be made in terms of overall talent level, but center back's the only one that we're having to do short-term calls for.
Yeah, I mean, that stacks though. So we lose a center back for a couple weeks, then you have to slide Biru in there. Well, there goes all of your left back depth, and then it just cascades down. So I think we could use another at least person you can slot out there, but that's let's fix some other problems first before we worry about
players for at least another 5 weeks. So
yeah,
reality.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I mean, we started well.
Yeah.
Um, I I actually thought this play was right in front of me, and I was surprised the ref called that a corner. I don't know if you guys could see it on TV, but it looked like Heinz Ike just like smacked it out of bounds, and we randomly got a corner out of it. Um, Looked like a good call, but not one I would ever expect them to make. And yeah, this is nice. We score on a set piece, send it in. Everybody's throwing their hands up about something. I don't know if it was just like handball or hope for
They
something.
were calling for a handball.
Yeah.
And if you look at what it was sort of like a chicken wing sort of situation of like, was it like on the chest? Like, I don't think you can really give that as a handball, but like, I understand why you're calling for it. And sort of the calling distracted and made them about a second out of position there. And you know what? We took advantage of it.
Yeah, I did like to recycle it, put it at the top of the 6, and then a lot of power on that header from Biru on the ball that's not, shot in or anything. Hit the keeper in the hands and got in.
Yeah.
And Cornell is one of the best keepers in the league. Like, I would normally expect him to make that save. I think he might have been a little rattled at the moment there. Like, he just didn't seem like he had seen everything. Like, when you talked about the second of deflection there, it seemed like he was more shouting at the ref than he was actually getting focused on, like, oh shit, the ball's coming back right for me. And like, that's a save that I think he probably makes 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah, if you go back to the shout to the handball, everybody kind of stopped playing except one person, and it was Owen coming in from the corner to get that recycled ball that was just kind of out there. So he kind of had free run to put the second one back in. And it was a nice touch because that's not the easiest ball from that close of a distance to put up to where you can kind of put it on a platter for you guys to try to go get it. So I thought Owen was overall excellent last night. But nice that he got an assist. Should have had a goal too later on. We'll get to that. But yeah, Biru, this is what we've been talking about on corners in the first place, though. And granted, this is a recycle ball off of the corner, but put the ball in the middle and let our tall guys try to get something on it. It's 2 weeks in a row now. Like, granted, last week was an own goal, but it's 2 weeks in a row now that we've been able to just put the ball inside the 6, and good shit is happening. Like, sometimes this game is not that complicated.
It was also good presence of mind by Owen to take advantage of that transition period of them being set defensively to deal with the set piece, and then while they're kind of getting out of it to put it back in. This is something that we talk about a lot of just put it in there and like force the defense to make plays. And like when you have as much size as Austin has, like even in those transition periods where Vasquez or Heinz Ike, whoever is involved in that, you still have Biru in the middle who can win a header over almost any defender in the league.
Yeah, and I don't even think he like picks Biru out here. He just goes, oh, there's some free area in a good spot. Hit it there. Somebody go get it. Somebody doesn't go get it. That's their fault.
It also kind of helps sometimes to have it be not directly at a player because it lets your player, one, build momentum to get the header in, and two, it forces the defense to actually make the play itself. And in a transition period where the defenders aren't necessarily going to be able to see the ball, I mean, even though it's the most basic thing of seeing ball in man, it still makes it harder for them.
Yeah. It was a good start. I did notice that the stadium filled up almost immediately after the goal, which was pretty fun. Yeah, and it was a little odd, I think, for most of the first half. Obviously, we'll get to their tying own goal in a second, but I thought for a lot of the first half that they really had kind of our number, and they were kind of closing off all of these little midfield inside passes we like to make, and they were basically saying, hey, we're going to like shadow Bukhari, hit it over us if you can. We're going to like shade this way and overcover him. We're going to give you the straight ball to him, but he's not going to be able to pass it anywhere other than back to Dessler. And we just didn't seem to know what to do with that. But, general kind of first half thoughts before we get to their equalizer.
I mean, I think what's interesting about this team is that they were getting to a point where they were not the Red Bulls that we've seen in the last few years, where they were not playing in such a high press. They were actually I mean, I think the final possession stats were around 50-50 yesterday, but like they were getting to a point of like they were okay to play with the ball, which is something that is different. And they were clearly cutting down lanes. They were not trying to put I mean, let's face it, their goal wasn't on the counter. They did have a couple counters, but this was not energy drink soccer that we have been led to believe that Red Bull is the only team that's capable of actually playing at this point.
No, Choupo-Moting is like 400 years old, so I think he would keel over if they tried to actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like but you also like a forward doesn't necessarily have to do that as much as your midfielders and defenders in that, but it is also, yes, like when you're running out Choupo and taking Emil Forsberg, this is not exactly the the freshman squad here.
No. Did also have Peter Stroud in midfield for New York Red Bulls, who had a nice clash of heads to really get people warmed up with Sabo really early in the game, and I enjoyed booing every single time he touched the ball, but I think I was the only one to do that. Or anytime they called a foul on him, it was a very loud "Boo Stroud!" And eventually, the person next to me was like, "Why don't
this even cross Peter's mind that people will be booing him?"
No. The person next to me was like, "Why don't you like that guy?" And I was like, "Oh, well, his older brother used to play for us." And then he made Kip Keller very, very sad when he played for a different team. They're like, "Oh, that was that guy." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's his brother, not him." They're like, "Okay, that's really confusing." And I'm like, let me have my sicko thing, okay?
Hey, we get to play Jared in like 6 weeks in DC.
I will say Peter did make a very good stop on Owen's shot toward the end of the first half. That was like the only time I really noticed him do anything.
Yeah, Peter also appears to be about 6 inches taller than Jared, so a little bit more there. I did notice too, speaking of our old nemesis, Red Bulls had noted nemesis of the Billy Goat Scruff, Tim Parker, on the bench. So a little sad to not see him, but I guess we got to talk about the equalizer. It's a little bit of a mirror of ours, kind of, cleared corner, ball comes out, everybody's kind of on their toes. Forsberg, I think, just hits what's a hopeful cross in, like we were talking about. Throw it in the mixer, see what happens. Vasquez is a little hesitant, goes up, jumps, and nicks it, and ends up in the far side netting. I'm not sure there's much Stuver can do here, especially off a deflection, but Scott, you had a better view than me. Any thoughts?
I actually thought the ball was going to hit that part of the net even had Vasquez not touched it. Like, I'm not sure that Vasquez touching it influenced it as much as like I was kind of surprised it was given as an own goal because I thought it was going to be on net anyway. Like, I thought that was kind of a harsh decision. It kind of harkens back to what the Austin goal was, which was, hit a set piece, it gets cycled back out, you put it back in, and then you force the defense to make a play, and the defense didn't make the play. And so, it was interesting how much those two goals mirrored each other.
Yeah, the only reason I would say it's maybe an own goal over just a straight shot is it looks like the way Vasquez hits it adds a ton of spin, and that's what sends it into the corner. But anyone else want to chime in?
I mean, it looked like he just kind of went out the back top of his head, like the crown. Just a little late on the jump, but it's hard for me to get mad about it. It's one of those just kind of freak goals that, oh shit, it went in. Okay. I'm more, in a weird way, I'm almost happy it went in because I think over the last few weeks, we're starting to see more resolve out of this team. You go back a month on this podcast and listen to us talk about how this team never comes back when it falls down and falls behind. And we've gone back to that first U.S. Open Cup match a lot as a little bit of a turning point for how this team is starting to play. But again, we now saw something not go our way, and the team didn't immediately get its heads down and kept on fighting, kept on playing, which was not something the first 2 months of the year that we could say about this specific Austin FC club. So I think it's a confidence builder, even though they did give up that goal on the own goal. And it's nothing the defense did wrong. I mean, we gave it one shot on goal all night, and it was right at the end. Take that every freaking week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird way. Like, I know, like, technically their goal wasn't a shot on goal because it's an own goal, but like in my mind, like, I would still give them sort of just like, it's not technically the right call, but it is. Like, I think they fairly earned that first goal. Like, that is like sometimes you see an own goal and you're like, no, there's no way they deserve that. No, I think with the quality of play that they put forward in the first half, they deserve that goal. Like, that's not I don't lose a ton of sleep over that, unlike probably 2/3 of own goals that we have on this team.
No, I'm with Seth here. Like, they were pushing. I think they deserved a goal. Yeah, maybe that's not our favorite one to give up, but even if they count that own goal as a shot on goal, that's okay. You guys had 2 shots on goal the entire game, and one was in the 97th minute. Okay.
Favorite goal to give up. I feel like that is, we won't view it this week, but maybe on a future podcast we can talk about the best goals that have been scored against Austin FC. But I feel like that's good off-season content.
Rui Diaz.
Yeah. Or the Chicharito goal and Salt Lake.
Oh, yeah, actually, that one was better. You're right. All right. Well, so Brad kind of mentioned that we kind of came out after that goal and picked up a little bit. For me, it was really more when we got the fun parts in the supporter section going. That's when I really thought the team started pushing forward. And I don't know if it's just, the atmosphere in the crowd starts to pick up, or if they actually are like, yay, signs, great job. We read those. We agree. We'll play better now, or how that works. But Scott, you were in the supporters section. Do you have any ground level insight onto what we're going to go into here on how these banners mysteriously appeared?
Yeah, completely mysterious, out of thin air. It also was not a coincidence that it started at 3252, which was a shout out to LAFC's supporter section that kind of started this, at least on the MLS side. Some LAFC chants are starting to be used as part of the protests in LA, which I think is also just like a really cool thing community wise. But no, I thought it was a really cool moment. There was a lot of hand-drawn signs that also mysteriously appeared and were definitely not coordinated in any way, shape, or form. But it was also kind of nice to see that even like the Austin FC staff that were down at like the bottom in front of the supporter section were just kind of like cheering it on.
Yeah, we were kind of like keeping half an eye on it while watching the game, and kept seeing people that kind of looked like front officey, like walk over and then kind of be like, nah, I'm gonna let this keep happening.
Yeah, there were a lot of reports about people having difficulty getting in with certain slogans on their shirts or things like that. But I also saw those people in the stadium with their shirts on, so clearly it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, it was great to see. I wish it would have been on the broadcast a little bit more. I was watching it this morning. I didn't really see it on the broadcast, but the pictures are everywhere on socials, and you can see them and all the positive interactions they're getting.
Yeah, I mean, we took a photo just from the stands and sent it out on Blue Sky, and I think we're at like 1,000 impressions or something, which is not something we get for stuff we send out usually. But yeah, that was nice. I wonder too if the front office had this like, well, we're going to try to get people at the door, but if they get it in, screw it, we tried MLS kind of attitude towards it.
I mean, I was curious to see how it'd be across the league. I mean, I think as I was at the Fire match against Nashville last night, and there were some even more pointed signs at that one, specifically calling out the silence of the Fire front office, and frankly, the silence of all 30. I mean, LAFC has sort of put out a statement, but not even really at that point. Like, most teams have been very quiet, and also, like, ultimately they're sports teams that are in business to provide entertainment and make money, not necessarily to provide community solidarity. That's the job of supporter groups. That's not the job of front offices. And I think that a lot of people get confused about that, but it's just different teams seem to be taking it more seriously. I mean, I was not in Austin last night, but it sounds like there were like 50 or 60 extra police cars from from state troopers and other people that were at the match yesterday. It definitely seems like Texas is being Texas around this. And I mean, it is definitely it's tense, and like that's real. I mean, there was what disturbances down at the No Kings protest last night in Austin. Like this stuff is real, and you have to see how it impacts people. I mean, we don't have another home match for another 3 weeks, so we'll be curious where the atmosphere is at that point. But while the coverage on Reddit and Blue Sky and even Twitter for the most part has been overwhelmingly positive, there was a Fox News article written about this. I am curious to see how that plays out over the next few weeks, and kind of glad there's no home matches for another 20 days.
Yeah, I think unfortunately too, we did get our annual Juneteenth celebration a little buried in all this other stuff. So wanted to make sure we mentioned that. They did have a nice version of Lift Every Voice and Sing before the match. Unfortunately, the woman who was singing it like stumbled halfway through. But she was doing a really good job other than that tiny little break. Yeah, I also
thought it was weird that was separate from the anthem. Like,
That's
I felt like in years past that was usually done by a different singer, but done in the same period of the pre-match presentation as the anthem. And they did it, and then there's like 10 minutes, and then there's the anthem.
So maybe there was some MLS. So yesterday, the Fire and Red Stars had a double header, and they did lift every voice and sing, and then the national anthem right back to back, saying like gospel singers that did an awesome job at the Red Stars game. And then for the Fire game, there was just none of that. Where it's like, I mean, they had a black artist sing the national anthem who was quite good and took a very long time to do it. It would have, if you know the NBA rules, that if you go for every second over 90 seconds of the national anthem, you have to donate $1,000 per second to your team's charity. So it would have been a $19,000 fine if this had been under NBA rules.
I did not know that rule existed, but that's interesting. I'll be curious for the dozens of people who show up to Q2 on Thursday night for the U.S. match, because if you look at tickets, there's a bunch left over. But that is actually Juneteenth on Thursday night. I'll be curious to see if they do it there too. As far as the protest last night and the banners, like honestly, just kudos everyone. I know signs were being confiscated at the gate, and it was cross coordination across SGs to make that happen. And as someone who was watching at home, there was a moment where the banners were very, very visible on television. And I think it speaks volumes to the work that goes into it. And the message is not only the right message and the one that needs to be out there and said and heard, but it was also creative. I mean, the no ice in this melting pot is super well done. I thought that was a really cool banner.
Along with avocados are from Mexico.
Yeah, that one got snatched at the door, which sucks, I guess. Like, I would have just gone, that's a statement of fact.
I mean, that's also a known agitator who has been banned from a stadium before. Like, you talked before about like the front office having like files on fans. He has one.
To be fair, as someone who was at that match, he kind of jumped on a grenade for everybody else there. Because there was talk during that match in Atlanta in 2022 of the entire section getting kicked out. So there's a reason he drank for free the rest of the weekend. But no, I would have loved to have been next to him because, avocados from Mexico, that's just an ad campaign. What are you getting on me for? Heard that for years.
But do we have a new avocado partner with the team here? Do we have exclusive rights that we can't? Do we have some new American-made avocados that are now sponsoring Austin FC? I don't know. But apparently, I was not watching the broadcast live, but in a ad before the broadcast, that Chevron was talking about their services in the Gulf of America.
We're still doing that, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we are still doing this until. I don't know. I'll be very curious what the nomenclature is like under the next anti-MAGA administration whenever that occurs.
I don't know. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think any of us are surprised that MLS is taking a very Republicans by sneakers too approach to this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, also we have to remember this is happening while the Club World Cup is here, and that the Club World Cup is teed up for the actual World Cup, and we will see that there are more eyes on American soccer there this month than there have been in a lot of other times, and it's definitely going to be an examined space. And I'll be curious to see if any of these protests make it into any Greg Abbott speeches or other things like that in the national discourse in the coming days.
Club World Cup, never heard of it.
Yeah, never.
Like Leagues Cup. Yeah, we'll be very curious to do some ratings analysis on that when we get a little further in. But yeah, I mean, that kind of
just like MLS, we will never know the ratings on DAZN.com for free.
Yeah. Yeah. But team kind of picked up because before that we were just doing a lot of like smacking long balls, and we did kind of revert to that at the end of the game too, which we'll get into. But team picked up, had a really great chance at the end of the half. We did get some counters. They look pretty good. Bukari takes a little bit of a heavy touch, slides it across. We don't really kind of get what we need out of the play, but it was a nice omen for what would come in the second half. But kind of general first half thoughts for me going in, great job by the supporters section, but like 1-1.5 seemed about fair to me. Yep. Okay, cool. Scored pretty quickly in the second half and took control of the game. Easily could have had more. Scott, you want to walk us through goal number 2?
Yeah, it was Bakari on the right attacking again. It was a little more set and stable. There's kind of a weird moment where I think it's Savovic hits a ball to him that's a little bit high, and he kind of chests it down and forward. And it seemed like their players stopped for a second and Bakari just kept going, and then he hit a cross into the near post where Vasquez was making a run in front of the keeper and finishes it. Just, it's a really pretty goal. Like, it's kind of the blueprint of what a lot of us thought would be a goal that's scored, 9 or 10 times this year, especially based on preseason when Bukhari was just obliterating back lines and passing into Vasquez. And it kind of goes to show, like, correct, Azuni is not clicking yet, but Austin has 2 or 3 DPs who are scoring and playing well, and that's better than a lot of teams. And so there is still a lot to be excited of this team just having some high-end talent that gives us a puncher's chance to win all the time. And ultimately, you look at last night's game, the difference is that, our DP scored and they didn't have one who did.
Yeah. There was a nice little bit, too, where Bukhari gets the ball and he's basically using Dessler as both a training cone and a screen. And that's, I think, when you were talking about where they were just like, what's going on? But I have been waiting for this cross in from Bukhari after he gets in behind. Brandon Vasquez runs to the fucking front post and finishes the ball. He hit that near post in between the keeper and the goal post, which is hard to do. But, I mean, you get in that good of a spot, you just sort of rifle it and hope it goes in. But I have been waiting for this run and this goal for like 3 or 4 fucking months. So thank you guys for finally giving me this lovely moment.
Do we think if Azuni is on the pitch at that moment that play unfolds in the same way?
No, I think you.
I don't know why I wouldn't.
Well, the question is, it's like, where are their runs coordinated? And, like, I actually think Azuni was fine when he came in there. Like, this is not, like, meant to diss on Azuni or anything. But it gets to a point of, like, is Brandon making the same runs when he is playing as a lone striker versus when he's playing with Azuni as this sort of winger striker hybrid? And, like, so much of what we've seen in the first few months of the season is that they're making runs to the same spot, and then we're not necessarily, then it's uncoordinated, and then we end up, we had a 0.4 XG chance that we didn't score again.
No, I think that's fair, but on that play specifically, the entire play was down the right third of the field. So theoretically, and even the near post goal, right? So theoretically, Uzuni would have been nowhere near the play. The thing that I was most intrigued with on the play is Dessler almost set a pick, like a basketball pick, for Bukhari, because Bukhari, he was kind of trapped in 2 or 3 guys, found a little bit of space to go towards the in line. And Dessler's just standing there, and he just wisely doesn't move and opens up just enough space for the cross to happen or the pass to happen from Usman. That was a soccer IQ level play that most people are just going to look past.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say with his whole training cone thing too. And I think he was offside, and that's maybe what set their defense off a little bit, as they were like, oh, well, he's going to touch the ball and he's offside. And Bukhari's like, nope, I've had it the whole time. He hasn't moved, not affecting the play. But to your point, Brad, I think the bigger thing here is not necessarily like where Vasquez is going to be, is when Uzuni's on the field and, we're playing a little better the past couple weeks. Maybe that's Uzuni. Maybe that's just something clicking and we're not, playing multiple games a week or something. But I didn't see those runs, period, or Vasquez crashing as hard into the goal. He was a little more reserved and pulled out towards the top of the box. So I don't know if that's an Uzuni thing or, somebody got into his head and said, hey, I need you to run at the goal or something or what. But I think that's where a lot of that thought is coming from.
Well, and the other question, because Seth hit on it, and I was going to talk about this later too with Uzuni. I thought he played fine last night when he came in. But one thing I'm starting to notice, he plays better down the left side when he's paired up with Kalinic. He and Biru do not seem to be on the same page as much. And I think that's something that we need to look into more if we want our attacking players to be more connected in the attack. Uzuni is going to be on the field. I know people are sitting here. A lot of folks saying he needs to be a sub, he's super sub, whatever. You're not paying this much money to a guy to be a damn sub. It's not how this league works. He's going to be starting on the left wing. If that's the case, in my opinion, your left back needs to be the person that connects with him the best. And I think that's Kalinic.
I mean,
going back to your Biru point, I think you can say that about Biru and everybody who plays on the left wing. I don't think he's the kind of player who links up with the winger in front of him, because his idea is more to get more central. and kind of isolates that winger a little bit more. And so it's really more of a stylistic choice on Nico's part of how does he want the left back to play. And I think he values what Biru brings in terms of size and defending and kind of tacking more centrally to provide that coverage than he cares about being able to unlock the left winger. And that, but at the same time, like, that's the balance of the whole game. Is that?
But the question has to be asked, right? Is Biru better as a center back for us long term?
Oh, see, I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. Like, I actually think the best use of the 11 that Austin currently has is actually using a 3-man backline with Biru and Heinzike and Svatok, and using him as a center back.
We have no subs for that backline.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why we're not doing it. But to me, like, I think that's the best use of this team. And then using Kolmanich or Gallagher as a like bombing forward, left wing back or right wing back, and then throwing Dessler in there. Like, I think the team looks a lot better and makes more sense in terms of who the players are in that formation. I don't think that we have the depth to do it. And I'm also not sure. I'm also not sure Nico's willing to do it.
I was going to say, in that case, who do you take off on the midfield? I'm assuming it's Savovic. You'd have to take him off.
Yeah, because I also really want to see an Owen Danny midfield again. I think with Owen's progression and growth as a player, I want to see what that looks like. I know we saw it a lot like 2 years ago, but that was 2 years ago when he was like 18. Like, it's time to try it out again.
Well, and also he has like DPs in front of him now. It's not get the ball to Seba or we're fucked.
And I thought one of the things that looked really good last night, especially, was Owen especially, and Vasquez coming back to help press on their midfield. And I thought that sprung a few counterattacks for us, where we got a few 3-on-3s, 3-on-2s that should be really good chances, and we just weren't quite there in figuring it out yet. And some of that was a play being offside or whatever it is, but I at least saw an idea of how we wanted to defend in a way that could let us counterattack easily and quickly. And we hadn't seen that as much this season, which is weird because I always thought that was how Nico's Dallas teams played.
I did think, kind of to your point too, like we did that pinch kind of jumping on the press more too, where we have essentially like the ball, if we recover it, you either have to pull in the outside back, which frees up Bukari, or one of the center backs has to move, which frees up Vasquez. So you always have a channel to pass it into. So I think we're getting smarter on that press too, and kind of that. It was a little weird because obviously we're playing Owen in midfield, but as you mentioned, he's kind of like coming from behind on these presses. So maybe the guys are like not scanning and thinking, hey, Wolf should be in front of me, but he's actually behind him.
One of the things I also noticed is that Vasquez was playing a little wider when we were out of possession. He was definitely, it definitely looked more like a 4-4-2, where he was kind of more like in the outside channel as opposed to like central. And I thought that created a little bit more space for him to be able to make those runs, and it made it easier for him to link up with Bukari.
Yeah, we did seem tilted towards that right side a lot more too. And that's kind of where that chance that is a goal but wasn't a goal, and we'll talk about it in a second, but like, philosophical question for you here. I want to kind of reach back a second. I agree Biru is probably better long-term as a center back. Does that change how we want to approach this transfer window and try to find maybe like a Mikkel Dessler type guy to play left back? And we just use Biru as our center back cover?
Or do we think that John is ultimately going to develop into a starting left back?
I don't know if he has the speed to play the way we have Dessler kind of going up and down.
Yeah, but he has the progressing ability with the ball and the passing ability to make him so much more effective.
Yeah,
on the left side in the attack.
Yeah, the difference there is that we'd also still need to bring in a left back as cover, because we can't fall into the situation where Gallagher's like the backup at 8 positions again.
Yeah.
I know there's speculation in the market that we're going to go after a Cam, a center attacking midfielder in the window coming up, but the more I hear Scott talk about this 5-man back line and putting Biru in the middle with Kolmanich outside, I wonder, is that something we actually need? Or can Owen and Danny continue to do that for us?
Because we traded 4 goals in the last 2 matches does not mean that we've solved all of our attacking problems.
No, but I think part of that attacking problem could be exactly what you're talking about, is putting
a more attacking, well-connected player on the left side with Uzuni.
Can I throw a wrench in this entire conversation?
Sure.
Does the field have to be balanced?
No.
Just continue to play down the right constantly?
Yeah. Tuck Uzuni in a little bit more. I like the idea of having Zanda kind of like bomb in early crosses. But just have Uzuni play differently from that position where he's more attacking the back post, that thing that we can never figure out how to defend. So you have more opportunities on how to cross, where you have guys following up on those kind of late runs more, instead of just trying to play him basically the same way we've had like Bukari or as like a double 9 or something. Just sort of have him as more of like an inside backside winger. And obviously, like, you can't just go down the right the entire game. You do have to attack down the left. But, like, there are plenty of teams that shade one side or the other and do it effectively. And, I mean, that also goes back to your point where we were talking about Robert Taylor, Uzuni, or whoever. What I loved about watching Liverpool this past season is, like, okay, Mohamed Salah's the first guy on the team sheet, but there's 2 other positions, and there's 4 or 5 guys who are just clawing after each other to get on the field. Like, we're not going to have that Vasquez is going to start, but you got 2-3 guys, and every time they're on the field, they know if I play really well, maybe I'll start next week. You don't have that comfort. Like, I really like having that, at least in a few attacking positions.
Well, and I think there could be some more competition for the backup role, because I honestly could never see Jader Obrian on the field again and be totally fine.
Jader Obrian led our team in goals last year. That was the first thing I thought about after that, and we'll get to it. Play at the end of the game.
Well, hey, at least we have one player with. Well, now I guess we have 2 players with multiple goals now after Bureau scored. So
everything's coming up Millhouse.
I guess if we include the Open Cup, it gets a lot prettier on these things.
Yeah, but we'll worry about that a little later. So the goal that wasn't a goal that we score, which is a lovely counterattack. Go down the right, pass through to Vasquez. He cuts it back. There's sort of like a little mishmash on the ball. Owen has a lovely touch, smacks it in from 4 yards out. I thought he was offside live, so I wasn't shocked to see the flag go up. But any kind of notes or thoughts from you guys here, other than Vasquez didn't need to be offside?
No, I mean, he was. I mean, again, I feel like I do this on every 3rd podcast. If we look at the angle that the TV cameras are showing us offside, I think, Devin, you probably had a better angle in your actual seats than this. But it is just like that angle was a good 25 to 30 yards off of where the ball was. Like, yes, he looks a little offside, so he's probably more offside if you had a camera angle in there. But, like, how hard is it to get some more freaking cameras in this stadium, Apple? Like, this is a time here where it's like, what we should not be looking at something from that's effectively the top of the 18 for an offside call that was halfway down the pitch.
The NFL has like 3 cameras in every fucking pylon. This isn't 1980 where you have to have like a giant shoulder mounted camera. Like, you can stick cameras in literally everything.
I mean, you could stick a freaking iPhone probably, and it could work for what we're looking at here. This doesn't need to be a big. I mean, we should not actually use an iPhone, but like, it's not.
No, we should. I'm in.
I mean, but hey, that would be product placement there. Like, or just set up iPads at every 5 yards down the field. And it's like, as we look here at the Apple enhanced camera featuring iOS 26 or whatever, the new product, like, do a product placement. I don't care. Like, this is what we paid you to do, or you're paying us to do, really. But like, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Just like they already have that product in fucking house. That's why I'm amazed they haven't done it. It's not like we got to go out and get the sponsorship deal. Like, I love the NFL one when they were like Microsoft Surface, and then like all the announcers kept calling them iPads. That's not going to happen because it's your own product.
Tariffs are expensive, man. It's hard to get that stuff over.
Yeah.
It's not expensive. They're just uncertain. We just don't know how much it's going to cost.
One thing on that play I want to point out, because in the Los Verdes game chat last night, post game, I got super frustrated with a few people who were like, Uzuni's ineffective again. Uzuni didn't do shit. On the goal, I want you to watch 2 plays specifically. And we're going to talk about the second one later too. But on the goal that got called back because of the offside, watch it play out when everybody's still running at full speed because the offside flag had not gone up until after it had gone into the net. Uzuni makes a run on the back post that pulls defenders away which opened up Owen to be wide ass open. So do not sit here and say that Uzuni had no effect on the game or wouldn't have had any effect on the game when he's doing stuff that you're not seeing. Just because he doesn't show up on the score sheet doesn't mean that he's not having an effect, a positive effect on what's happening on the field. Even later, the hot air stupid non-goal, which should have been an Uzuni tap-in if hot air picks his head up, the pass that sprung hot air was from Uzuni.
It's also a really good pass, and it's hard to hit correctly, and he nails it.
Yes. So for y'all actually who apparently were at the game, but you don't fucking pay attention, please start paying attention.
Yeah. Rant aside, this seems like a weird game to rag on Uzuni to me because, like, yeah, he came on as a late sub. He held the ball up. He created a couple chances and worked hard.
And by the way, he just got off a plane like 48 hours ahead of time from being in Europe all week.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks, right? It's just, Jesus Christ, man. I wish some of y'all would Brad,
we're a vibes club. We are not a facts club. We are a vibes club.
Yes.
It just bothers me when I'm like, why isn't he doing this? It's like he actually had a really good 20-minute outing last night for everything that he had to do for travel, and then impacts that he had. Just because it doesn't show up on the score sheet doesn't mean that he wasn't effective in what he was doing. It just means that you guys who are bitching about him aren't actually watching the game.
Hey, well, we did have an eagle-eyed fan who asked us to develop a scale or asked us to comment on the length of Uzuni's shorts. And I was just like, but him and Danny do the shorts. It's not that weird.
Danny also made his jersey into a crop top for part of the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Danny is something I'm very interested in.
Between that and the locker room photo where he was showing off the V, I feel like he's really feeling himself about how he looks right now. He had a full on 90s football all the way up.
Yeah.
Do we think Danny is doing this to impress someone that he's just gone on a second date with, or is he just in thirst trap summer season of why am I single at this moment?
I mean, what is Danny? 22, 23-year-old guy right now in a good sized city making a solid amount of money as a professional footballer. I'm sure he's feeling himself, right?
Let the man have hot girl summer.
Yeah.
You guys are so judgy. But yeah,
Danny's going to be down at Barton Springs for the next few days on his off time.
Yeah, just hang out. Oh, I wonder if they're going on a boat trip again this year.
I know
for the record, Danny is 24.
I know for sure several of the guys are leaving town for a few days.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, Seth, to go back to what you were saying, I had a pretty clear view of it. I thought he was offside. I'm not straight down the line, but I had a pretty good look at it. And I did see a still later where maybe if they had called him on the field, we can hope it's not clear and obvious, but I thought he was offside on the still I saw too.
Also, I know that we're going to have a ref discussion at some point, but I will say this, that from that still, you can see that the linesman is perfectly online and has a great view of it. And you can't doubt that too much when they're at least in the right position. And the linesman in general I thought was good, but the dude in the center was all over the place the entire night. Okay,
let's do the last little couple events of the game, and then we will definitely talk about the ref. And hopefully my microphone stays on this time. So yeah, we have this play, and that really I think would have absolutely shot this team in confidence forward. But with 2 weeks off, I guess I'm kind of maybe we need that confidence moment when we're playing games right in a row. So I tried to take a little positive view on it. Two things to end the game. Brad kind of. I guess Brad and Scott kind of mentioned these a little bit, but they got 3 really weird free kicks towards the end of the game. The last one, Forsberg hits. It's sort of towards the corner, but it's the side that Stuver's on, and he hit it hard. But for me, this is an easy save. Stuver gets it clear, which is probably the harder part. But other than seeing it beat the wall, were you guys worried about this one?
Yeah, it was curling in. Anytime I have to see Stuver outstretched like that, I'm going to raise my eyebrows a little bit, especially in that moment of the match, right?
Yeah.
However, that was the only shot on target they had all game that they generated. Obviously, the own goal is the other one. I think this gets into the other aspect that everybody, the save and how quick it was. The transition the other way was really nice, and that led to the Uzuni pass to Obrian, but Obrian decided to kick directly into the keeper. But the foul was soft. Like, we'll get into the referee more in a little bit, like we usually do. But that foul call was just indicative of the entire game for me, for this referee, which was flip a coin.
Well, the other thing for me is like we should have never been in that position. We're trying to play like tiki-taka, fiddle-faddle bullshit in the fucking midfield with the ball. Just kick it into the goddamn corner and move on with your lives. We're already at 97 at a 6.
That's what drove me insane, was the turnover should have never happened.
Yeah.
Like, kick the damn ball as far down the field, take a goal kick or whatever, and reset at that point in the match. I went on a rant on that in the game chat. I was so pissed off.
Well, and that's what we've been doing for like the 10 minutes previous too. Like, I think too much was like overcorrecting and just sort of booting it and giving them the ball back. But like when you're already past the amount of time you're supposed to get, and like we had this weird hindsight concussion thing. I get why there was extra time on top of that, but like that's when you want to kick it into the fucking corner and make them run all the way back like 40 yards, take a throw in, and that burns what, 25 seconds off the clock?
Yeah.
Anecdotally, I feel like the softer the foul call, the more likely there is to be a goal scored. And I thought that their goal came on a very soft foul where Dessler clearly did not touch or even come close to fouling that guy. And so every time the ref called one of those soft fouls, leading to them having a pretty good free kick spot, I think it was a little too far out to shoot, and I think that made it a little bit easier. But I was nervous every time because I'm just like, that wasn't a real foul. This is absolutely going to be a goal.
Yeah, the Dessler yellow card was just, it was something. All right, let's do the Obrian chance real quick, and then you guys seem to be itching to talk about referees, so we can do that. Yeah, like you said, ball gets cleared up the line. Uzuni does a great job to hold it up, passes it on. Obrian has the entire field in front of him. He has the option to shoot. He has the option to pass to Uzuni. I'm probably the least beady-uppy on Obrian about this because I want my forward shooting. But if you're shooting that with Uzuni that open, you better put it in the fucking net.
There's also something to be said for rewarding Uzuni for that great pass that he sprung you open on. Not just that he's wide open, but, you know, if you got a guy making that pass and then making the run on top of it, like it's okay to reward him. You know, we did that a few weeks ago with Bukari on a PK, where Bukari had been playing great. Vasquez gave him the PK and converted. And I think since then, Bukari's really been playing fantastic, honestly. Even though he hasn't scored, he's been creating chance after chance and getting some assists, and probably should have at least 2 or 3 other assists that we haven't converted on. Which that gets into my Apple announcer shit last night, which is, you know, well, he's playing better, but he doesn't have the stats aren't really good for him. It's like, well, yeah, but it's not Bukari's fault that Brandon Vasquez hit a header off the crossbar a few weeks ago when he had it on a platter for him. You know, it's not Bukari's fault that earlier in the season, he created a penalty kick that we didn't convert on, which even if we had, he wouldn't have been on the score sheet for. These are things that you just, unless you're watching matches, you don't know. Hader, though, consistently has made either the wrong decision or the wrong play this year. And I know what he did last year, great. We were terrible. Somebody had to score a goal at some point. He scored 7. It's nothing to get crazy about. I think we can move on from Hader Obrian tomorrow. We're not losing anything.
Yeah, I mean, the argument for him is, well, he's experienced and he's making the right plays. Well, he's not. So why are you playing him over? I guess he's the wrong side for CJ, but you got Taylor, you got Gallagher, you've got bodies.
Yeah, I mean, but he is on a 2-year contract with an option for 27. I don't see him going anywhere unless some other team has great value in him, but you never know. It's MLS, and we still have 2 open senior roster spots. I think filling those 2 open senior roster spots and getting rid of Julio is more important than getting rid of Obrian at this point.
Yeah, or, you know, maybe we'll get lucky and somebody will want him in the offseason or something, but I'm with you. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, or unless we get some great offer from Colombia or something. You never know. Our South American players seem to do pretty well when they go back to South America at this point. And you know what? I have nothing against the guy. I just don't think he's a long-term fit in this team.
No. And I do have a couple like larger game notes I want to hit, but unless you guys have some more on this Uzuni Obrian situation, somebody go ahead and start bitching about the ref.
By far and away the most inconsistent performance of a ref all year.
Oh, I don't know about that, but it was pretty bad.
I can't remember.
There were 3 just in the first half on the near side that were clear fouls against us that he didn't call, and one literally 5 seconds later he called a foul on Austin for doing something not as bad as a foul. It was just constant throughout the game of what was and wasn't a foul, had no idea. And one of the ways you can always tell that a ref had a bad night is that he had to card both benches.
Yeah. I also thought he was a little spiteful. So if there was something that he didn't agree with or whatever, he'd let a foul go or hold your guy on the sideline longer than he probably should have. Like, there was a little bit of like, fuck you in this ref that I thought, you know, sometimes you go to a baseball game or a basketball game and you're like, I didn't pay to see the ref. And that's what this felt like last night. Was this dude was trying to insert himself too much into the match.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the other match he did this year at Austin, I think, was the San Diego match, correct, Seth?
No.
Was it? Or the Galaxy,
You guys bitching that
it was the Galaxy match, which got out of hand. The Galaxy match.
It was the LA Galaxy match.
Yeah.
Which was a little out of hand, but not as out of hand as San Diego.
No, the post game in the Galaxy got way out.
Yeah. The post game did. Yeah. During the match was not that out of hand.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if he overcorrected or something there too.
So my point here is, since 2022, this is the 7th match that Rosendo Mendoza has called for Austin FC. We have won 6 of those and drawn 1 of those. Would we rather have poor officiating and us getting results, or have better officiating and us not getting results?
I know we can't have both, but
I know we can't have both. It's a larger fundamental problem with the way that we're playing and other things, but I'm just gonna drop those facts there.
Damn it, Seth. The other one that looked really vindictive was there was a sub window where Austin tried to make 2 subs and he wouldn't let the second sub come on, and then he spent 2 minutes yelling at Nico about it. And I was standing up in the south end, and I was like, he could have just brought the sub on and saved 90 seconds. Like, he had to make that 90 seconds about himself.
Yeah. So the reason they didn't let him on was because we were too slow. Vasquez was too slow coming off the field, and he's like trying to enforce the 10-second rule that nobody actually enforces in this league. Okay, fine. But you're correct in making us hold out for another 2 minutes on top of that was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And there was one of their players went down for, I counted it, 20 seconds and didn't have to sit out 2 minutes.
Well, yeah.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, what even is this rule? Like, I still go back to like Azuni having to come off for 2 minutes in that match. And it has not happened since then. No matter how long the player's down for, no matter what the injury is for, it doesn't matter. They don't enforce the rules.
I go back to the Heinz Ike play at the end too. Heinz Ike immediately got up. The ref stopped the game. So not Heinz Ike. The ref stopped the game because the ball hit him on the head on the free kick. And then he made Heinz Ike hold off the side for another 30 seconds for letting him on. Like, at what point does he not just get to come right back on the field when he's shown that he's fine and you stop the game specifically for him that he didn't ask for? Like, that makes no sense to me. And then if you watch that restart, he doesn't really drop the ball like a traditional drop ball. He rolled it out there. And Red Bull noticed that and damn near picked it up off of us.
There was that, and there was also a throw in late in the game where he like made Red Bull rethrow it for a reason that I could not understand.
So the player had moved up literally 2 yards, and this is where you get into the consistency, because it's like, okay, dude, it's 2 or 3 yards. Who gives a shit? Just throw the ball. Earlier in the match, we had one of our players on the same sideline walk 15 yards up the field. Dude said nothing and just let it happen or throw in. He was all over the place, man.
Yeah, we had a throw in similarly called back. I thought theirs was a great throw and it created a chance. And I have no idea why he called it back. I'm glad he did. I don't know if it was like a makeup call, but yeah, vindictive, I think, is a good word. There was also a weird play. Like the Heinz Ike thing was like 2 or 3 stoppages. I believe the kids call with this performance main character energy.
Yeah.
Or main character syndrome. But there was also a weird one that went to our advantage where like late in the game, and I think this might have been where their coach got carded. Their coach in his silly baseball cap. where they came back, like they clearly fouled us. He does the like, hands over, he got the ball thing. They pass, like make 2 more passes, and then he calls a foul, like back. And it's like, well, hold on. It's not like you waited to make the call. You said he got the ball.
Yeah, I think it was Gallagher that got taken out on the left side.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and it was like the ball. He got the ball, but it was a reckless challenge. Is why he got coming back. But yes, if I were a Red Bull fan, I'd have been pissed off because it's one of those like in basketball where you get a delayed foul like long after the shot misses, and then all of a sudden the whistle happens. Like, oh yeah, that was a foul. It was that kind of shit.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a foul if the ball went in, but
yeah,
now it's a foul. Yeah, plenty of those, and we mentioned the like 3 very, very, very super soft free kicks at the end. So when they announced him in the stadium, like they do before the game, they're like, "Oh, the officials are these guys." I was like, "Oh, I don't recognize that guy's name." And Riley's like, "I fucking hate that guy." I was like, "I don't remember this dude. Like, why don't you like him?" She's like, "I don't remember. I just remember this guy's name, and I don't like him." And we looked it up, and it was like, "Oh, that's the guy that double yellowed in that really weird thing, Heinzike against Galaxy." And we're like, "Oh, okay, we're in for a treat." And he was a mess. He was an everybody pay attention to me, Angel Hernandez kind of guy, like from the get go. So I don't know. No real big calls to make, I guess. So that's a positive.
Look, when you're making a CONCACAF match ref by O'Shea Nation look normal, then you're not having a good night.
That's part of the fun of CONCACAF, though. He has to know that. O'Shea Nation is part of the CONCACAF wondery at this point. And he knows it. Any more on the ref? I want to hit on 2 other things on the game, and then we'll hit format.
Are we going to get an O'Shea Nation sighting at
Seth,
the
you're on
Gold
mute.
Cup? I'm almost sure we are. I have to go now pull up our Gold Cup referees because that we're going to see him in the next few weeks.
O'Shea was.
I'm sorry,
he did the game last night.
He did the game. It's like how does he continue to get premier slots? Oh wait a minute, we have USA Trinidad Tobago. Our official is going to be. It is not listed on Flashscore or FOutMouth.
All right.
Probably for the best.
I think I'm going to end up watching that just out of there's nothing else on TV.
I mean, I guess especially if the U.S. Open gets rained out.
Yeah. All right. So I think we've kind of been skipping over this a little bit or not hitting it super hard, but I thought the sub timing, especially that first round yesterday, was like 10, 15 minutes too late. You could see the guys struggling. Like Dessler went off with what I'm hoping is a cramp or something. They were really, really pushing us between like, let's say, 58-ish and 72. And we made that sub and it really could have cost us like 5-10 minutes too late. Maybe we're picking nits here, but any general thoughts on sub patterns, or you would have rather seen XYZ player? I thought the people he put on were fine, but yeah.
Yeah, it felt like they were trying to get Dessler to 75 minutes no matter what for fitness. But I also think that doesn't take into account that his 2 matches fully back now are at elevation and then the hottest match of the year so far, which maybe is, you don't have to push him to 75 just in case. Yeah, I'm with you. I think you got to take into account it's not just that it's hot right now. It's also unusually humid for Central Texas. And that's coming from a guy who grew up in the swamp ass of Alabama. So if I'm telling you it's a little humid, that means it's humid outside. So I think Nico should be taking more of that into account right now. Yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to see the subs a few minutes earlier. Otherwise, the patterns were fine. I had no problem with who we subbed and who we brought on and for who. I thought it made total sense.
Yeah. All right. I'm definitely picking nits on this one because I'm going to talk about Vasquez because I watched the highlights of the St. Louis City LA Galaxy match this morning. And there's always a little bit if Vasquez was 10% more awareness, FIFA rating type of thing, he would be one of the best players in the league because he's just a little slow on the passes sometimes. And I noticed Joao Klaus had 2 where he just thunderfucked the ball into the top corner. And we don't really see Vasquez, even when he's open, kind of at the top of the box or mid top or anything like that, even just unleash one. And I want to see him take a couple of those shots. Not necessarily he has to roof it into the top corner, yay, goal, everybody's excited. But there were a bunch of times where he has space and I want to at least have him keep other teams honest because we do try to play these little slip passes and look for an extra pass. And that's not, necessarily a bad thing, but every now and then I would like to see him just wind up and just crank one. So there's my little mini rant. Any other thoughts there?
No, I agree with that. That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Going back to the substitutions, looking at the bench, I'm not sure what other subs you'd make unless you want to put in Dubrsarski over Ilya, but that seems silly. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean we're really bottom of the barreling there, and I think like you're at home. Ilya is the safe play, right? So, all right,
Going to be
Brad,
your
you want to get us
captain
going with
when
your?
you're transitioning him off, like that's where you want him, even if Stuver is the armband. That like
Yeah.
you get to the point of like if you want your team leaders to bring in the 65th, 70th minute. Obviously, I mean I think all four of us agree that Nico subs too late and almost every match. That's one of our complaints about him. But as we get to it, like that is a perfect role for Ilya Sanchez to play for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, come be a smart guy, clean up the midfield.
Yeah, even though I will say he didn't have necessarily the smartest play there at the end of the match.
Nope.
But
nope, I don't think so. Avoidable too.
Yeah, just don't give up unnecessary set pieces. That's all we ask.
Well, I mean, Forsberg's a pretty well-known good free kick taker from that kind of area too.
Yeah. Terrible human being, but very good free kick taker.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Emil Forsberg just like got up and decided to join New York Red Bulls and like left his kids and family without like telling them. Yeah. He was just like, I'm moving to America. Oh, by the way, I'm already in America.
Yeah. Straight up did not tell his partner that he was moving to the United States, and she did not move with him or their kids.
Yeah. So
that's a fun force.
Yeah. It's not great. Not great. All right, Brad, you want to give us your stock rising?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to the man of the match last night in stadium, and that was Alexander Svatak. I thought he was fantastic last night. He made a couple plays closing down guys, especially outside, kind of on the edge and even outside the box to thwart some attacks. And you can tell we always saw, even last year, he got some playing times. Like, okay, he's a little different compared to what we've had. But I think in the last month or so, he's really becoming comfortable with this system and how we want to play and who he's playing with. And quite quickly is going to be the best center back that we've ever had.
Yeah, I noticed too in warmups, he looks like he's put on like 10 to 15 pounds of muscle without losing a step.
There's a really sicko part of me, brain, that would love to like go back in time and have him and Radovanovic playing center back next to each other.
Abandon all hope, ye who enter.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
How would it have been with him and Ruben together?
Also would have been fun. Yes.
Yeah. Have a little Bash Brothers thing going on.
As much as we think that about Ruben, I think only had like 11 fouls or something in 2022. Like he had like an insanely low level of fouling for a center back.
Here's a good question. Who had the better crazy angry face though? Ruben or Svatak? Because Ruben had a really good one when he got mad.
Svatak's is pretty good.
I think Ruben was like, I'm more like, Ruben was like, oh, but he could control himself. There's this like 10% of Svatak, you're like, I have no idea what this guy is going to do. And that terrifies me to no end.
Told you guys, don't fuck with Eastern Europeans. All right, Seth, you want to go next?
Yeah, I will go again with Dessler. I mean, like, it is just like, okay, he got up to 71 minutes last night, that he's getting to a point of this team is so much fundamentally better of a team with him in the lineup. And I know we've talked about this a little bit on this podcast, but just like he will never be, I don't think he'll ever be the armband wearer of this team, but he might be he's definitely in my mind, as we can see with the matches with him on and off, is probably the most actually valuable player of this team and is the highest replacement of value above where his position is when we don't have him on the field.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about this, or anytime there's a captain switch, we talk about it like captain only really matters if you get it wrong. Like, we have 5 guys and you see them all who could take the armband. It's a good thing. Even if they don't actually end up wearing, like, the fancy little piece of clothing. Scott, you want to go next?
Sure. My stock rising is Guillermo Biru, who got a goal. I thought he looked good defensively. He looked good on the ball. He's really solidified just being a solid starter. Whether that ends up being at left back or center back will remain to be seen. But he's been one of Roto's better signings.
Yeah, and versatility's showing up. He's scoring goals. He's been, knock on wood, healthy. Can rely on him. I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here and take Owen, because Owen's had some up games, some down games. He definitely had a lot more impact on the midfield, and I think we played him a little higher. Scott talked a little bit about his pressing and how that's helping us launch counters, and just technically he had a great game. Probably should have had a goal. And pulled out some moves that we haven't seen. I still don't think he's consistent enough at that kind of like 10 final pass, because we've had a couple chances where maybe that ball through, if you get it like the weight on it right, we're in a great spot. But he's getting there, and for a guy who we weren't even sure would be a starter this season, I think he's had a great impact, and keep going up. Brad, I know you wanted to talk about Owen earlier. Do you have any other flowers you want to give him?
Helps him mute. Apologize. I thought his one-touch movements, his half turns, things like that were really good last night. There's only one play I kind of take back on my mind. I wish he had passed it a little earlier. I thought he had some room on the attack where he gave it up to Bucati on the right, and it ended up coming back to him, and he tried to shoot and got blocked in the first half. But I think if he gets rid of the ball a slight touch earlier, he has Vasquez on a diagonal run between the defenders. But his progression into becoming a very, very good progressive midfielder who can find the right pass and get us out of trouble with a quick touch or a quick pass, it's really blossomed this year.
Yeah, I think he's our top guy at kind of like that second to last pass. We still need a guy to have that last pass, that kind of 10 magician, but it's a piece we can get.
I think also the guy where we didn't really talk about either is give a nod to Danny last night too. Guys, I thought defensively he was really solid. Cut out a few attacks right at the end last night, snuffed out some balls. Like Danny was quietly good last night.
Yeah, Danny was one of my other options, and then we're not even talking about Booker. He had a great game, and he's not even a stock rising because he's been playing great for a month. So good place to be. Seth, you want to give us your stock falling
matches like before? Where it's gonna be so hard for us to pick a stock rising, and we could pick a majority of the starting lineup last night.
All Kings. Oh, sorry, that was your stock falling.
Oh no! I mean, it can be my stock falling there, but my trying to think what I actually want to use for my stock falling today is you know what? I mean, I'm just going to do the league. I mean, we covered this a little bit. It's just like MLS. What are we thinking right now? We have a point of we recognize that. Look at who your fans are as a league. You've actually done an admirable job, as much as parts of the Apple broadcast thing have been bad and good. You have Spanish broadcasters on every single match. You look at who your fan base is. It is an overwhelmingly left-leaning fan base. It is overwhelmingly a pro-immigrant, pro-LGBTQ fan base. We also Minnesota had a beautiful tifo last night on Queer Joy. If you haven't seen that, would highly recommend looking at that. And Minnesota's supporter section was refusing to remove people who were in their own supporter section making homophobic chants against that. You're getting to the point of the league. What is your identity here? And at a certain point, you need to embrace your identity, because that's the way you ultimately grow your fan base. You're not going to be the most popular thing for every single person. And we're not saying that you need to be out there promoting the No Kings protest or anything like this. But no, lean into your identity. There's beautiful things of that, and that will actually benefit them financially.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the second part of it's really where I'm like, okay, but you guys are even doing the capitalism bad.
Yeah, your goal is to make money ultimately as a league. I mean, we'll congratulate MLS again on making $1 million off of Miami and Al Ahly drawing last night. But your job is, if you want to sell tickets in your markets for the most part are not Oklahoma City. They're not Indianapolis. And even those markets still have plenty of liberal fans. Getting to a point of look at where your markets are, speak to your markets, and make sure you are selling tickets and then selling Apple TV subscriptions. Make money. you have a path to do it.
Just some competence, please. Scott, you want to go next?
Sure. My stock falling is us for not realizing there was another Stroud brother, which I didn't find out until like the lineup came out yesterday. And noted fan antagonist who was near me in the supporter section looked at me and was like, "How did we not know there was another Stroud brother?" And said that we quote completely failed him. So on behalf of all of us, I apologize to our fans for not instigating shit talking another Stroud brother all week.
Yeah, my apologies for knowing Peter Stroud and knowing this Duke Man's alum, and did not mention him on last week's preview. So that is my own stock falling there.
I was going to say I didn't mention him either, but I did know he existed. So I made up for it, in the stadium. I was picking up the slack. Everybody else was like, oh, like fuck ice. And I'm like, yeah, but also like Peter Stroud. I got to do my part. Brad, you want to go next?
Mine is actually, I said last week I like him as a sub, but I think you have to give a stock falling to Elie. Not only with the pass last night that he had, like the game that we said was kind of ill-advised, but also the guy who was your preseason captain and supposedly the captain of this team being out of favor in the starting 11 seems like not the best thing in the world to me. I think I agree with Seth. I think his best use is off the bench right now, but is Stuver the guy that's going to be the full-on captain of this team moving forward, wearing the band every week? Maybe. It'd be unusual for a keeper to have the armband, but it seems like that might be the case, which is a little eyebrow raising because I don't think that's something we would have seen in the past.
No, I agree with the Ilie thing, and like if his best use is coming off the bench, great, but like he still has to be good. He made some critical mistakes. He lost the ball. He came up with some dumb fouls, and it's part of the game. But like that's the one guy you expect to not do that. Scott, I know you have a similar thought as me on keepers and captains. Do you want to give us a little rundown?
I'm not a fan of the keeper being your captain, mostly because of where he is on the field, and I think that you need to have it be a midfielder or somebody who's around the referee more. I also think it's best to give it to at least the armband during the game to whoever is going to argue with the ref the most, just because you do get more leeway being captain. And this is obviously not a knock against Stuver or anything like that, but I just think in terms of the functioning of the team, I prefer the captain not be the goalkeeper in the same way I don't think it should be like your star striker who should be focused on scoring.
Yep, similar thoughts to me. And I did notice it's a little odd. Like earlier in the season, they gave Heinzike the band a couple times, and now it seems like he's been skipped over for Stuver, which is fine. Ultimately, I hope the captain doesn't matter, but I'm with you. Like I would love in like 2 years if we get a little more maturity out of Danny, and he's just like hacking people left and right, and just never gets yellow cards because he has the armband. I'm going to take the other obvious stock falling here, which is Hadair Obrian. We kind of talked about him a little bit. This is not the first time he's done this season, but like very much the clearest. If you're going to, Uzuni worked that great play for you. You did a great job running. He did make some other errors too with like bad fouls or bad passes back. And, if you're a sub, you got to have your impact be positive, not just like I'm an extra body out there. So, I think we said enough about him unless you guys want to jump in with more. Alrighty. Scott, let's go with your moment of suffering.
My moment of suffering was Hadair Obrian not passing the ball to Uzuni in what is the most happen of happens. And not that that's like 100% goal scorer because of evidence of what we've seen Uzuni do this year, but you have to make that pass. You have to reward that he passed it to you. It's a much easier chance. All those things.
Yep. Good choice. Brad, you want to go?
Yeah, so mine was late in the game where the ref finally decided to force the 10-second sub rule, and it's against us, and we nearly gave up a goal. So, Yeah.
All right, your mic's still there. Cool. Seth, you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, just like not finishing out games. Like, I mean, we obviously had 2 goals taken. Well, 1 goal taken back from offsides, 1 goal not ever scored because we were not confident on that. But it is just like finishing out a game. We are still I mean, yes, we did have a multi-goal win last week, but yet we are still not having a multi-goal win in league play at home this season, and we should have had one last night, even if the XG wouldn't have indicated it. And not getting that will be my moment of suffering.
Okay, yeah, since I already took low-hanging fruit on the first two, I'm not going to take the foul in the 97th or whatever minute. There was a shot towards the end of the first half they had that looked really odd. It looked like it had no chance of going in, but it like sort of bounces and spins weird. And Stuver dives like way late, and this ball looks like it's going super, super wide. And, we always compliment. I actually thought Stuver was a little off on a few things last night, but he's normally very, very good at if he dives, the ball is on net, or he's just being extra careful about it. So, it was very like, oh, holy shit, did this thing like take a weird spin off the turf and it's going to just like cruelly nestle in the bottom corner, but it did end up going just barely wide of the post. But that was another, it's 1-1. They got one lucky goal. They're going to get a second lucky goal. Here we fucking go again type of moment. Anything else on the game before we get into nonsense? All right, Brad, talk to us about the first quarter of a CFL game.
Yes. So the Toronto Argonauts had their home opener yesterday. Unfortunately, they lost to Calgary 29-19. Also, Toronto gave away replica rings to the first 10,000 people last night. And if you haven't seen the Toronto rings, if you're listening, you probably haven't. Their championship rings are amazing, and you should go find it. But the first quarter ended in a beautiful, perfect CFL score of 1-0 in favor of the Toronto Argonauts. I love it. Toronto had 2 rouges in the game yesterday. It was great.
Miracle, magical.
So in our season, as we have said we're going to do every week, we had 3 goals scored at Q2 Stadium last night. We had, once again, 4 rouges across the 4 Canadian football matches, and the CFL beats MLS one more time.
All right, I'm glad Seth's still tracking this because I already forgot about it.
So I will say, in the 2-hour Sickos podcast CFL preview that I listened to 2 weeks ago, they were like, there are 8 teams that can win the CFL, and the Calgary Stampeders. Of course, the Calgary Stampeders are 2-0. So I love that there is another league with as much unhinged energy as MLS, because that's just incredible.
Also, the CFL really needs to get to 10 just so they have even division.
So they're supposed to have a team in Halifax that they have been fighting over how to build a stadium there for 10 years. But if Halifax is not willing to do this, I am sure our friends in Shreveport, in Birmingham, in San Antonio,
we can revive the
Barracudas.
We can absolutely do this. Although I don't understand why Quebec City or something doesn't have a team. That's a big enough town.
Yeah, I don't know why Quebec doesn't have a team. I also feel like you could have a team out in Kelowna. Well, because you want to have another Eastern team, so I think Quebec City would be there, or even having a team in St. John's or something like that as well could work.
I don't know. It's that big anti-Halifax conspiracy, I guess.
Or just put a team in Buffalo. I mean, they're effectively Canada.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of choices, but we're not going to solve all the CFL's problems. We still got to fix MLS. Other things going on. We did kind of mention the Gold Cup. I don't give a shit. I'm going to watch the game, but any notes or anything, you guys? It does seem unfair. We have to play 2 teams at once against Trinidad and Tobago. Nothing has ever gone wrong when the U.S. plays Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah,
so I'm expecting an easy Stroll victory.
I mean, we are playing in the we are got to play in 2 cities in both San and Jose today, and Pay and Pal. There's lots of dual words here, and I don't know if the United States is actually united enough to do anything. I'll be kind of curious what lineup Pochettino runs out there today. If there's ever a match that needed an ass kicking, it is today. We'll see what we do. I predict it's a 2-1 slog. I mean, Mexico only beat La República Dominicana 3-2 last night in LA. I didn't actually see the match, but if they only beat them 3-2, I mean, Oshani Nation can account for 1 goal alone, but that is still Mexico is not firing on their A side. But I guess LA might not be as much of a home venue for Mexico these days because of our world.
I kind of hit on this earlier, but I'm fascinated to see attendance at Q2 Stadium Thursday night. Because if you go, I'm on SeatGeek right now. And if you hit the hide resale button and only look at what is out there for the box office, half the stadium is green, meaning available. This will easily be the least attended U.S. match in Austin history. Granted, CONCACAF is setting the prices. I know that. You're greedy as hell. But this is what you get when you offer a bad product, and it's $90 just to get in the damn door after fees.
I mean, there are entire sections that are green.
It's wild.
And I don't even think
isn't that just Saudi Arabia investing to keep the seats free to show that they're really green in solidarity? Like,
are we going to see? Are we going to see the Westlake high school soccer team representing a?
Yes.
You got to get $20 ahead of time as you're walking in to wear the T-shirt. That's the way it works.
They're just going to do that and hand out jerseys.
Because it looks like 103 must be blocked off for supporters, and then it looks like Lexus Club doesn't have anything open, but I'm not sure if it's going to be open. Or if those are like assigned for somebody else, and then every other section is.
I mean,
no, there's no booze in the Lexus Club. It is going to be the Sheikh fill in the blank club, and I mean there'll be very good food, and there'll be other things going on there, but that is not accessible to mere plebeians like ourselves.
And if it's anything like last year with Copa America up in Dallas, they did not drop face value as tickets got closer. Like we've seen this with Club World Cup actually, where they started dropping prices to get people in the door down in Miami last night. If CONCACAF is going to hold prices, they will be lucky to have 7,000 or 8,000 people at Q2 on Thursday night, and it's going to look terrible.
It is absolutely asinine to me. They do this price flooring bullshit. Like, I guess to be fair, Saudi Arabia did buy the TV rights, so they're not trying to like sell TV rights. So that doesn't really matter, but generally when they do that, you want the fucking stands full.
No, but Saudi Arabia's TV rights are on the Club World Cup, not on the Gold Cup. Saudi Arabia bought the entire Gold Cup.
Or they do have 500 sponsors of CONCACAF right now. So.
Yeah, CONCACAF brought to you by Saudi Arabia. Let's be very clear.
I mean, there was a post I saw yesterday at a Club World Cup match where they were moving fans to one side of the stadium that was shown on camera just so it would look full.
Yeah, the Club World Cup was not. I think there was 20,000, 30,000 empty seats there last night, if I'm not mistaken.
60,000 was the attendance.
Yeah. Yesterday, I mean, the other thing about this CONCACAF match that bothers me so much, when Gold Cup, the only other match they've had here for a U.S. match for Gold Cup was 2021, opening season of the stadium. I sat lower level in the corner, face value for $60 after all in with fees that day. And that was a semifinal. You're asking me to go to a group stage match with our frickin' B team and pay these prices just to get in the door? Absolutely the fuck not.
I mean, to be fair, in 2021, remember who scored the goal in that game?
Yeah, it was Jossie's artist.
Yeah, so it wasn't exactly our A team there either, but yeah.
Yeah. So here's my favorite thing about the U.S. soccer right now. And granted, this actually came from U.S. soccer, not CONCACAF. They played the match the other day in Nashville. About 2 or 3 days before the match, I got an email from U.S. Soccer that says, "Hi, you have purchased Nashville tickets before because I went there for World Cup qualifying a few years ago against Canada, and I bought tickets for my buddy who lives in Nashville a couple of times through pre-sale access because his wife is a huge women's national team fan." And got an email. It's like, "We have $100 for you to put towards tickets." And I'm like, okay, so it's like a minimum ticket buy. Nope, here's just $100 to buy whatever 2 tickets you want. Bought a couple of $45 tickets for them, freebies. There you go. Like they were giving away tickets to that match in Nashville a few nights ago.
For those of you who are taking economics lessons from this podcast, this is what we call market saturation.
Going back to leagues not understanding their fan base, I think it's kind of the interesting thing that Brad brings up of buying tickets for the women's national team and then us trying to sell for the men's national team. And those two fan bases are more different than I think U.S. soccer would want to admit. As someone who's been to women's and men's games at Q2, like those crowds are very different groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, while we're talking about the greed, I got my season ticket renewal. I misread it and thought it was like a $600 change. It's actually like $60. So that's nice. At least they didn't completely gouge us on the Austin FC side, which I'm assuming means that they do not have a rosy forecast for sales for next season. But
yeah,
I also think
prices
price
went up by
pressure.
inflation. Like those were inflationary increases.
Yeah, but I also just think it's price pressure. Like,
Yeah.
they can see the resale market just like we can. And I'm quite sure more season ticket holders are seeing that now too and dropping their season tickets because we're hearing that from people. Like, yeah, I'm dropping my season tickets because it's cheaper to get them elsewhere. That's what I did. I think no matter what, season tickets are always going to go up a couple of ticks here and there every year. And so at this point, if you're paying for season tickets, you're paying for either the people you sit next to or your seats that you just you really like having them. Or if we make some kind of crazy MLS Cup run, you're going to want your tickets there, right? That you have some other value to you that is more important than the actual like dollars behind it. Because if you just want to get into the match, the math doesn't make sense to have season tickets.
Well, especially when we're getting these like super crammed schedules where like, it felt like we were there every Saturday and every Wednesday in May.
Yeah.
At some point you're like, I want a little bit of like choice on what I'm going to. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's going to go up a little bit. If mine went up this amount every year, fine, whatever.
Yeah. I think you're going to get to a point where it might be a few years away still, but you'll start seeing like half season ticket packages come up at some point. But I mean, last night I looked an hour before kickoff out of curiosity, and if you want to go to the game last night, it was $35 on a nice night in Austin,
which is higher than it had been in May for a lot of it. I'm also curious I debated about reducing my number of season tickets down to 1 because I still wanted to get like that access of being able to do other things. And I wonder if now that the league has gone to 30 teams and it doesn't seem like there's another expansion team anytime soon, that we're going to see this schedule be a little more condensed going forward because we don't have to have as many off weeks as we did before. So I'm not sure that a super packed May or a super packed other month isn't just going to be the norm from now on, because we're just going to be able to have matches every week because we have an even number of teams again.
So remember, we have 2026 coming up. This league has dedicated that it's taking a 6-week break for the World Cup and wants to play a Leagues Cup next year. If you think this year has been packed, next year is going to be insane. 2027 and beyond, maybe. Like, I feel like we could create a more balanced schedule, but it's not happening for 2026. Also, next year, we're going to have the nightmare of apparently FIFA wants 6 months for all the grass to grow in stadiums. So that means that before the World Cup, that we are not going to have matches that New England, Atlanta, Seattle, Vancouver, and Toronto will not be able to play home matches until after the World Cup.
Well, I guess could Atlanta go play at Bobby Dodd, though?
No, so Atlanta could play at Bobby Dodd or at Kennesaw State.
I think they'll probably go to Bobby Dodd because they played there for 2 years before.
Yeah, so Atlanta has options. New England, what I think they will end up doing is they will probably do a split between a few. I wouldn't be shocked if they did a game or two in at the new Rhode Island Stadium and do some at Harvard Stadium as well.
I was going to say play at Harvard.
Harvard's a turf field, which is the main issue there. And like, Harvard Stadium's awesome, but there's also some other complicating logistical issues with Harvard Stadium. They use that for a bunch of other events as well in the spring, like Harvard track and field events and things like that. So it might not be as available as you would think it would be. So that there's those issues. Seattle, apparently the obvious choice would be Husky Stadium, but Husky Stadium is too narrow, is what I've been told.
Yeah, I've been there. That actually makes tons of sense. You sit right on top of the field, so that actually makes tons of sense.
So what could be absolutely hilarious is forcing the Sounders to play home matches in Portland.
I'm here for the chaos.
No, I'm here for that too. What I really want, and I would absolutely do it as an away day, but it would be a pain to get to, and I have to check how wide the field is. But play a game either in Pullman at Wazoo, or play games in over on the red field in Eastern Washington.
I was going to say Pullman's only 8 miles from the Kibbe Dome as well.
Oh, the Kibbe Dome. Or if we really want to go fully into Idaho, just have home games on the Smurf turf.
No, what they should do is they should play like a bunch on the red turf, a bunch on the blue turf, and see which ones they do better on. And that's the one they take to the playoffs.
I will say,
100%. That's I know through the scheduling question. So I believe the CBA runs out at the end of 2026. Is that right? 2027. Okay, because we keep having these rumors about MLS board of directors going to a winter schedule. And I think that's always kind of like the other thing to think about in terms of season tickets is that at some point we're going to be buying tickets for like a weird like half season.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
I think
it's not like
probably
it's not like we're
2030.
going to go from like October to like September of not playing. Like that's not going to happen.
No, like I mean, there'll be, but like that's also not a guaranteed thing that moves forward. Like as we're talking about these teams here, it's like okay, like how like you start looking at some of these alternate venue choices. I mean, we got through three of them. Like a lot of those places are cold, in the like Toronto probably having to like I actually. Oh, that'd be amazing. I just thought of this. Toronto playing because remember the Bills would play a game over at I mean, I think that first of all, Toronto could maybe play a couple games at Rogers Center Skydome.
Yeah, I'll say that would make sense.
Yeah, that I feel like but like you also have to obviously conflicts with the Blue Jays. I want Toronto to play a game in Orchard Park in Buffalo. Like just do that as like a one-off. Maybe do one or two off in Hamilton, but like you start getting to some other options. Like these options are cold. Like really, like okay, Vancouver. Let's move two of your matches to Calgary. You're not going to do that until May.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, I guess the only other option would be like, yeah, you'd have to be called Calgary because there's not a stadium big enough otherwise to hold fans.
I mean, I bet they play a couple games out at Pacific FC Stadium.
Yeah, to say Victoria.
That's a 7,000 seat stadium. Like, I don't think MLS will go for a 7,000. Maybe for one match. I mean, they've done it for a CONCACAF Champions Cup, but like, I don't know. It'd be an awesome away day. It's hard to get to, but like Victoria, BC, if you've never been, lovely, lovely city. Highly recommend.
What are the other cities that we have to worry about here for?
So
go back to the Revs though, like
Vancouver, Toronto, Atlanta, New England.
Okay.
Going back to the Revs, why wouldn't they just play at BC?
Chestnut Hill. I think that's turf. That could work. It's just like that's a weirdly located stadium. Like it's not a super easy place to get to. But yeah, I mean, they've never played there before. But now I'm checking as Alumni Stadium, turf or grass. I've been to a football.
I think it's turf. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's turf. But then again, they play on turf at Gillette anyway. So like,
yeah, that's not a big deal.
I mean, yeah, that's a 44,000 seater. Yeah, that could work.
Well, their problem's not ours.
But it could lead to some very fun away days next year. So I'm all open for like remember the time we played in fill in the blank.
Yeah, I would definitely go to a game in the Donut Box.
But apparently, the Donut Box is like through one of like the sketchiest neighborhoods in all of Canada. Like,
in all of Hamilton, Ontario. I'm fucking scared, Seth.
Hey, I'm just gonna say murder capital Canada. There, you never know what's good. Apparently, it has this like sort of Anfield neighborhood vibe of like you literally, or like Luton Town vibe of like the houses are right next to the stadium. Like it's not in like a downtown or an industrial area. Like they literally plopped a stadium right in the middle of a neighborhood. Or hood with the
That's always nice.
Let's go Hoops.
Yep.
Brad, what are your thoughts on the manager hiring that I think is finally official?
Is it? Because I haven't seen an official notice yet.
We will follow this. We'll see if we have QPR reporting to preseason before a manager signing is actually confirmed.
But
it's not going to be Tits.
Yeah, it's not going to be Tits.
We re-signed Sam Field, so that's good. But yeah,
I mean, and the guy that they're hiring, Julian Stefan, has Champions League experience in France.
Yes.
Like for a championship manager, seems like it is quite the hire. So that is how that is going there.
Yeah, there's nothing official out there.
And Hanover just earlier today has officially appointed Christian Titz as their new manager. So Titz will maybe come back to Hanover, staying in the Zweite Bundesliga, but with a club with a lot more resources, and we could see him in the Bundesliga.
We'll have to battle Steve Cherundolo for title of mayor.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the U.S. Open and how funny it would be if this gentleman Ortiz wins?
I didn't even consider that, but that would actually be amazing.
I always vote for the funniest answer.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, too, he got in through local and regional qualifying.
Nice.
So he went the hard way to get in. Yeah, we might get some rain today, which could end up with a Monday finish. Here's the most interesting possibility out there today. Let's say we end up with like 9 holes to play in the morning tomorrow, but then you have a tie. The U.S. Open is the only tournament out of all the majors where they play 18 holes.
I thought they changed that.
Did they?
I think it's a 2-hole playoff now.
Oh, that's terrible if that's the case.
Yeah, it's now, they switched it in 2018 from the 18-hole playoff to a 2-hole aggregate playoff.
Oh,
If they're
that's
tied-
Wow,
Where
Seth's
the
in
Mets are
real
gone.
time. Seth's
That
in real
is-
time.
awful. Yeah, so that makes it way less fun because I was going to say, what if you had to play 9 holes in the morning and then turn around and play an 18-hole playoff in the afternoon?
Oh, that would be amazing television.
Which would be epic. I hate this 2-hole playoff idea.
Yeah, they're going to play 17 and 18 again if they go to a 2-hole playoff.
Yeah, that's what they would do.
It's not. No, I agree. The 18-hole Monday play. I will say, as much as we do not like the Cash Grab Club World Cup, those matches now start at 11 a.m. Central Time for the next couple of weeks. So daytime viewing appointments, like most days, it's 11, 2, 5, and 8. This is great viewing windows for us in the Central Time Zone.
So like midweek, there's gonna be like a game at 11 a.m. in Cincinnati, is what you're telling me?
Yeah. So I will. So we have literally, it's what?
Wow, I wonder why the tickets aren't being sold.
Hey, it is $90 to get into the Bayern Munich Auckland City match. It starts in 15 minutes. So tomorrow we don't have an 11 a.m. game, but we have a 2 p.m. Chelsea LAFC game. We have a 5 o'clock Boca Benfica match, an 8 o'clock Flamenco Tunis match. I mean, on Tuesday we have an 11 a.m. Fluminense Dortmund match. Wednesday we have an 11 a.m. Man City Wydad Casablanca match. Which, like, if you've never seen Wydad Casablanca crowds, it is one of the few stadiums that I've had a chance to go to that a tour guide is like, no, it is legitimately not safe for you to be there. And then the next day in the paper, I read that 2 people were killed at the match.
Oh,
Like,
good times.
The amount of fireworks they launch off of those stadiums make the Greeks blush.
Good.
It is, yeah, but we have 11 a.m. matches, not tomorrow, but every other day this week.
Good.
Oh, sweet.
And then we also have a College World Series going on in Omaha. So you get,
Yeah.
I was about to say,
Beach Chicken's playing some ball right now.
Beach Chickens are playing some ball. They're going to try to make it into the leading part of the winners bracket tonight with a big game against the independent Oregon State Beavers.
The most important update from the College World Series is that LSU has done over 10,000 Jello shots already.
I was going to ask
played
about the
one
board.
game. They've played one game.
Yeah, Murray State, they have been drinking pretty well too. I got to say,
they're holding their own. Yeah, Murray State fans are holding their own up there. Apparently, for the first time ever, Rocco's, the home of the Jello Shot Challenge, actually had to close down a little early the other night on Friday night because some LSU and Arkansas fans got into it. Which, knowing those fan bases, my gut tells me Arkansas fans started shit because LSU fans, especially at the College World Series, are just jovial and they just want to party. And there've never been issues with them. Like, they have, that fan base will quite literally go to Omaha every year. Does not matter if they're there or not. They just go to party for the week. So, I have a group of buddies that we actively follow college baseball. And our only hope for this entire College World Series is that Arkansas goes 2 in barbecue. So, we despise that baseball team. We do not like Dave Van Horn as a head coach. And the more they lose, the happier everybody is.
All right, there we go. Anything else we need to hit on? Because we're like way over time.
Can you preview what we're doing next week?
Don't have it for sure on the books yet, so I don't want to go too deep on it.
We will hopefully have a special episode, or we will just complain about the Gold Cup and the Club World Cup next week.
Yeah, we'll do something. We may end up doing both because I don't know how long. We're trying to set up a very interesting interview with someone, but we'll see if that gets through. And we may end up doing a combo episode. I may split them into 2, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I guess on behalf of Scott, Seth, and Brad, happy Father's Day to anybody celebrating. Brad?
Oh, no, it's the same. Happy Father's Day.
Okay, yeah. Happy Father's Day, everyone, and thanks for suffering with us. Bye.
Promise here for Austin Jarrett Stroud. It's Diego, for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore. They just won't go away. Oh, he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.